Thank you.
All right, now that we have everybody ready, I call this meeting to order. It looks like that we do have a quorum. There are 5 active members here. And with that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Comer, you mind reading, please?
Okay, place flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Just to go ahead and let you know, we have 2 new members to our committee. Mr. Andrew Rice is going to be serving as a commissioner. Also, Alderman Daniel Berry. He is in Chattanooga at TML right now. So just want to let you know we have 2 new members here to fill out that. And I think Mr. Sandlin is out today. He sent an email. So that accounts for everybody. So if you would look over your minutes, and once you finish that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Schwerb and a second from Mayor Noes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right. No old business. Now we have new business. And the first is going to be the Natural Ridge Major Subdivision Final Plat. I know that it's been out there for a while, but we've got something that's being changed. And so is the developer here and would like to speak about that?
Hey, good evening. I'm Nicholas Northcut with Northcut Survey.
One second. Oh, no, you're right. You're good. Then I'm about to hit the public hearing. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to say I'm representing this. So.
Okay. Anything that you'd like to tell us about it?
It's pretty simple. There's an existing, or what was to be a 50-foot right-of-way that was going to be for future development in the Nature Ridge subdivision. But since that time, the property in the rear has been sold off, and there's no longer a need for the right-of-way. So the gentleman that owns it, as well as the lot adjacent to it, is just combining the 2 together and making the right-of-way go away.
All right.
So it's a combination plat.
Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. This is actually a public hearing, so I'm going to open this up, the floor. Anybody like to speak on this? You have 2 minutes. State your name and your address. I'll open it. Anybody want to speak? All right. I'll close it. All right. Mary, do you have a report?
Yes, thank you. Mary Samaniegos, Senior Planner. We'll go to my PowerPoint. One moment. Oh, one moment.
Do I go ahead and advance it?
Yeah, good. I don't know what. Again. Okay, so as the applicant stated, this is Nature Ridge Lot 7 subdivision. It was originally platted in 2006, and when it was platted, there was a right-of-way platted between 6 and 7 for future connectivity. Can you hit it again, please?
Did you download the presentation onto the service?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to have to manually do it.
Okay, so here is the subject property. Next. Yeah. And then here is the connectivity index. As I stated before, there was a platted right-of-way. So the applicant is requesting that we remove that platted right-of-way, and so the connectivity index criteria comes back into play because the current layout meets the connectivity index with a 3, which exceeds the 1.4 minimum. With the connectivity index, with the roads right-of-way stub removed, the connectivity index would go down to a 1 because there's 1 link and 1 node. So therefore, we have to review the criteria to seek relief from the connectivity index. And I've outlined in your staff report on page 4 If a subdivision fails to meet the connectivity index, the planning commission may determine that this requirement is impractical due to topography in existing development and/or natural features. I believe that it meets the criteria for impracticality due to topographic reasons. Here is the subject property. This is a 3D rendering of the topographic map. The shaded portion shows the bottom of a ridge. Again, Winston. This is your standard topographic map. The blue dotted line, that is a wet weather creek. Typically, those have a 30-foot protective buffer on either side, which prohibits development. So that's another criteria. As I stated, one criteria is existing natural features. That would be a criteria that would prohibit a potential future road connection. Again, Winston? Oh. The last criteria, again, I'd measured the contours of the, from the road down to the adjoining property, and it's at about a 25% grade. The maximum grade you for a newly created local road is about 11%, so that would exceed the grade to put in a new road anyway. So really, I believe that they made the connectivity without giving due consideration to the reality of a road actually going in this area. I will say it's not a situation where, again, if you look at the topo maps, the property owner to the north that is outside of this subject property does have connection via a private road that comes off the neighborhood to the direct east. Saying that the advisory committee did not have any corrections or comments of changes that needed to be made, so staff recommends approval of the revised final plat based on the finding of a practicality to the connectivity index from 1.4 to 1.
Thank you, Mary. Does anybody have a question for Mary? All right. If not, I would entertain a motion. I'll have a motion from Mr. Comer and a second from Mayor Noes. Any discussion amongst the commission? With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, on to item number 2 under subdivision plats. It's Pinnacle Point, major subdivision final plat. If the developer would like to speak.
My name's Andy Best. I'm the land surveyor for the project. The developer is also here, and we're both available to answer any questions that you may have.
Just explain anything to us about any changes or anything from the previous.
There were no changes from the preliminary plat. Well, it was a slight change, an easement to get to access the detention basin. Other than that, I don't believe there were any changes to what was approved as a preliminary plat.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bass?
Yeah, sure. Let's do this now. In the preliminary approval, there was a comment from the civil engineer. The common area is owned by the homeowners association. I would assume that would supposed to be in note 18, I think. But it was not included, so I didn't know if that needed to be addressed.
If I'm not mistaken, it was looked at 2 different ways. One way was there is part of the Emerald Meadows subdivision drainage goes into that detention, existing pond. There's 2 ponds over there, or 2 detention areas. And one is of Emerald Meadows goes into, not all of it, but Emerald Meadows 100% goes into it. And the way it was designed back in 2006 or 7 or 8 or whenever it was designed, part of that water off of Emerald Meadows, especially off of phase 3, goes into that detention. So Right now, there's going to be the plan was just a detention agreement was set up with a homeowner association in Emerald Meadows. So really, this one doesn't have one, to be honest with you. Or did we include it in the lot, that one lot, Andy?
What he's talking about was this section with the creek right here. Who's going to own that?
Who's going to own it?
My comment is more is like who is responsible for the maintenance of the common area?
There won't be, that's a natural area. That's a full, that was left out by the city of Tullahoma in 7 or 8. Actually, it was deeded.
I mean, this is from 2020.
I understand that. But this project's been going on since 2005 or 6. And that 50 foot, there was 50 foot on each side of that creek that was left out for a natural area that was originally deeded to the city of Tullahoma. Then the city of Tullahoma didn't want it, so now it's back. That's the way it was written years ago.
Okay.
Am I correct there, Scott? Scott might have some input on that.
It's a common area, not owned by the city. You're correct. If you recall, the city did not want to.
They did not
accept
want it. It was.
So it stays as a common area.
Right.
It's my understanding to be maintained by the homeowners association.
It's never been touched. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, it's just a grown-up area down there.
Well, I'm just, my real comment is that who, I mean, this was a comment that when we voted on the preliminary plat, you were supposed to incorporate a note that the common area was assigned by the homeowners association, and I don't see that in the final plat.
Okay, we can add that.
Okay.
That's not a problem. Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, no, so I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you, Mr. Howard. All right.
Thank you.
Now it's time for the public hearing. Anybody would like to speak? State your name, 2 minutes. Open it. All right, I'm gonna close it. All right. Mary, your report, please.
Thank you, Mary Samaniego, City Planner. Next, please. This is the general location of Pinnacle Point. As stated, the preliminary plat has already been approved. This is the final plat, getting ready for recording. There's still some sediment erosion control that has to be finalized, as well as final coat of asphalt and sidewalks that need to be completed, which is typically completed after some of the houses are developed. The city is currently holding a letter of credit in the amount of $90,500 in the finance department to ensure that those requirements and improvements are installed correctly according to the construction plans. Next, please. One more. Something happened. Okay, let's go back to what Mr. Schwer was saying. I believe that if you look at your packet on page 20, there is a detention easement that's part of Lot 10. Do you see on Lot 20 of your packet? So there's a detention and drainage easement that's part of Lot 10, and there is a note to the effect that the owner of Lot 10 is responsible for the maintenance of that easement. And then directly to the north of that drainage easement is in fact a common area, which is the 0.87 acres, which is addressed within lot note number 18. That common area is required to be left in its natural state as a riparian buffer. So typically nothing is done in that, like there's no activity, no clearing, no cleanup, nothing is to be done in that area. So with the developer, typically he owns that property now. He would retain ownership of it unless he deeded it over to a homeowners association. Do you in fact intend to establish a homeowners association for this development, sir?
Yes.
You do, okay, so then he would deed that over to the homeowners association to maintain, and the maintenance would be to ensure that nobody does any activity in that area.
Yeah, my comment was more of addressing the comment from the preliminary plat
Yeah.
that we agreed on.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Saying that there are just some minor notes that were kind of clarification of the next process. for the applicant, and the Development Advisory Committee recommends approval with the added note that, to note number 18, that the homeowners association shall have ownership of that common area. That concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Does anybody have any questions for Mary?
One question I have, I wasn't notified of this until Friday night when I looked at my emails, but there was also the city, or TUB has requested a 10% bond for the
Streetlights.
sewer lines and water. And I've never done that before, but I'm in the process. And Mary, it takes a few days to get a local letter of credit. And we did get yours on time, but we don't have that yet. So, but I've never been asked, as far as I know, for a bond for water and sewer lines. Maybe it's just something new, but it has not been done.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. All right. Anybody have any questions for Mary?
Just to clarify, what I anticipate will happen, Mr. Howard, is that, as you know, TUA signs the plat. They'll probably just ensure that they just probably won't sign the plat until they have your letter of credit in hand.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no questions for Mary, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, Mr. Comer with the motion and Mayor Nos with the second. In the approval, does that include the developer, the committee saying providing the detention maintenance agreement? Are all those included in all staff comments? We'll get by with that? Okay. Just want to make sure and verify.
Very good.
All right. Thank you. Move to approve with all staff comments. Is there any discussion amongst the board?
Just in general, I mean, we're packing a lot of houses in this area, and I think and I get a lot of concerned from the stormwater retention and stuff like that in this area. This weekend was a prime example of that. Every time it rains, everyone's always told that this is unprecedented rain. Unprecedented rain is becoming more common, I think, maybe, or it's just a lousy excuse. So how much more do we plan on putting out here? At what point does it become detrimental to the other residents of the area to continue to close the to eliminate the green space of the area? I realize this plat is already cleared and actually already has a road cut, which I thought that was kind of a little bit card and horse, but I'm not real sure about that. Anyway, I just have concerns of the overall development of that area with the city maintenance, and if the tax base is actually able to overcome the expansion of the area, that the tax revenue that we're taking in offsets the cost. Off my soapbox.
Any other questions or comments among the board? Oh. Yes, sir, Mr. Howard.
Mr. Schuler, I find that very interesting, your comment there, because right across the drain we're talking about, there's another 44 homes going to go there. And I'm sort of in the mix of whether to do that or not, or get involved in that or not. And I hear your comment, and it worries me that we would have problems in continuing that. And I appreciate hearing that.
I think that plat, the preliminary plat on that has already been approved by our board.
Yes, it has.
So you have entitlement.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not going to buy this, and we're going to back up on it and say we can't build any more houses, I guess is a clear question I'm looking for.
I had the similar comments to that same plat.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any comments from the board? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Moving on to zoning map amendment. I have a zoning map amendment 257. It's a request to rezone 702 Southwest Atlantic Street from General Commercial District C2 to Neighborhood Commercial C3. Would the applicant like to come up and speak? State your name and address.
Hello, my name is Marcelo. I'm the property owner of 702 Southwest Atlantic. And I just wanted to rezone to C3. It is, I'm currently trying to get a permit so I can finish the project that I started there. And I would just like to rezone.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? If not, thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. I will open this to public hearing. 2 minutes, state your name and address. Open. I don't see anybody here, so we will close it. All right, Mary, you have a report.
Thank you, Mary Samaniegos, Senior Planner. This property, as the applicant stated, is at 702 Southwest Atlantic Street. It's currently zoned C2. It is another one of those instances where it's a historic house. It was constructed in 1930. A single-family residence is a non-conforming use in the C2 zoning district. Therefore, and the house was vacant for over 365 days. Therefore, it lost its non-conforming status and cannot be reused as a single-family use per the existing code. So the alternative is to rezone it, as the applicant is proposing, to the neighborhood commercial zoning district. Next slide, please. Which is consistent with the comprehensive plan, being that it's in a commercial land use category. If you recall, the neighborhood commercial zone, C3, allows for some medium to low intensity commercial uses, but also allows some residential activity. So it would still meet the larger, long-range goals of commercial uses under the existing comprehensive plan for Atlantic Street, while meeting the short-term interests of the property owner to rehabilitate the existing house and potentially add a couple additional dwelling units. Saying that, staff found it consistent. Staff recommends voting to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen based on the findings of fact of Section 1006E of the City of Tullahoma zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Does anybody have any questions for Mary? All right. If no questions for Mary, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Moved. All right. We have a motion.
I'll second.
And we got a second. All right. It's a motion from Mayor Noes and a second from Mr. Schwab. And this is to send a favorable motion to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the rezoning. Any discussion amongst the board?
No, I'll just add that this is, I mean, the neighborhood commercial, I think, is a good choice for the city. Basically, it encourages inward growth. And, it's a good move, I think, so.
All right. Anybody else? I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. The next meeting will be Monday, October 18th at 4:30. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. 4:50.